So, in November, I debuted a trailer on Twitter and Instagram, which, by the way, never do that, about a new Marvel vs. Capcom Retrospective series. Due to, well, the scam we call college, life, and other things, I'm now just getting around and making the first video about the first game that I'm going to be covering in the series, being X-Men Children of Atom. I'm actually super excited to get into this, mainly so I can tell you guys a lot of the background information, because there's so much crazy shit that happens on what this game is based off of. But yeah, we're going to be going through all of Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, and everything else. So again, look forward to these videos, but let's get into X-Men Children of Atom. Quick side note, I forgot to say, can't really edit gameplay to do an AMV like I usually do with these. So, due to the aspect ratio and there's not a lot of clips I can use. So, I'll use the trailer every time I need to transition, at least in the opening of this video, or these videos. Sorry. But, yeah.
CAPCOM presents.
So the X-Men are a superhero team owned by Marvel Comics, which for some strange reason niggas keep thinking that they're their own individual thing and not actually Marvel related. Even in the beginning of most of their movies, it said in association with Marvel. But those are the niggas that we know ate crayons in kindergarten. But yeah, I fucking said it. But there were a team made in the 1963 that rose to prominence in the early 1990s. Actually, they rose to prominence in 1980s because, big size X-Men happened, but we don't talk about that. It's actually called Giant Size, and I'm just remembering that, but this video already kind of going off script, so let's go back to where we were. But yeah, due to their comics and the animated show, which slaps, I feel like everybody had Disney Plus. Go look at the 90s animated series, it's amazing. But the game we're talking about today is X-Men Children of Atom, made by Capcom in 1993. I kind of wish I wrote that fact down. And the thing is, I actually have the notes on it, but this game was based off of the comic arc Fatal Attraction, which is the craziest, most fucking hype story any X-Men fan could read. If you're a fan of X-Men or any type of Marvel comic, you gotta read Fatal Attraction, my guy. Let me just hold up. Let me explain the story. Pretty much, it starts with Xavier getting completely fed up with Magneto's bullshit. This nigga, at one point, took all the electricity on the planet Earth and was just messing with the magnetic, cycle around the Earth, causing, planes to go crashing, emergency contacts to go out, just a bunch of other shit. And I guess Xavier's you're really making it hard for people still who live here on Earth to live, because this nigga Magneto lived on Asteroid M, which was a giant moon base in the solar system where this nigga lived. He probably bathed on the moon. See, this is why I wonder about this shit. And a real ass G, Magneto was you wild, my nigga. That's what Xavier told Magneto, you wild. So I'ma go get my big hitters, which is Wolverine, Rogue, pretty much anybody that was a capable threat to go. And pretty much he just left Cyclops and Storm in the back, I need y'all to kind of look out for the fucking school if I don't make it. And he went to go handle his shit. Then him and only a few of the X-Men, including Quicksilver, which is Magneto's son, was yo, let's go jump this man, hood rules. And they doing good until Wolverine hops in, like the complete dumbass he is, and stabs Magneto. Mind you, while Jean and Xavier are in this man's mind. Now, that's pretty much the synopsis, and the only thing that people remember from this fucking thing is that, oh, Wolverine gets the adamantium ripped out from his bone. which I'll admit was still fucking crazy to watch, and it was still gross to watching him with the bone claws, but yeah. So I bet you're like, all of this does happen in the game, right? No, this is I just wanted to hype y'all up for the ad revenue, and no, nothing like that actually happens in the video game. But it's a fighting game, which I'm surprised Capcom paid a lot of attention to detail back in the day. I don't know who worked for Capcom back then, but bring their ass back right now, cause this shit hasn't worked out that well. Cause they paid attention, even though some of the decisions are questionable, especially the roster. Like some characters shouldn't be there, like Silver Samurai. Pretty sure this man was not that popular in the 90s, and he's still not that popular actually. Like, they didn't even invite this man to Krakoa. And I'm sorry, Marvel, Spyro will never ever be popular, like, ever. I don't even think, like, most people know who she was. I didn't know who she was until Wolverine and the X-Men came out. I saw her in a Japanese opening for the X-Men cartoon, but Jesus Christ, can we just get to the gameplay of the game? Let's actually talk about what's in the game, because it's probably going to be the shorter episode. They didn't have much of a connection in Children of Atom. So, Children of Atom takes a lot from Street Fighter 2, and I do mean a lot. You had that weird-ass dizzy effect when your character gets hit too many times, and instead of them, like, dying, they just kind of, like, you know, they're dizzy. Okay. But it's a 1v1 fighting game that allows you to play as a character, that being Cyclops, Wolverine, Psylocke, Iceman, Colossus, Omega Red, and Sentinel, and Trash. Okay, fine, it's Silver Samurai and Spyro, but I didn't get much gameplay of them because they fucking suck and I hate them. What, y'all can afford Mystique, but y'all can afford Omega Red, okay? Legit, y'all use Sabretooth in the next game, but settled for Silver fucking Samurai. Like, for real, you guys settled on Spyro and Silver fucking Samurai. Nobody gives up about these characters. I don't even think they liked them in the movies. Is Spyro even in a movie? No! Y'all was mad about Infinite. The true crime is, where the fuck was Gambit and Rogue in a game called X-Men Children of Atom, and they were prominent in both Fatal Attraction and the animated series, which all three of these shits was out by the time this game happened. I'm sorry, I get heated about the X-Men. That's my team, that's the one I grew up with. Anyhow, we gotta get back to the gameplay portion. So, you have the standard supers and aerials, but then you have X attack, which is a unique mechanic to the game, but I feel like it did kind of give, you know, how do I put it? It paved the way for certain things, which are like unique abilities for your characters. Storm is flight, Wolverine allows himself to heal, and etc. It's a unique mechanic that I feel is overlooked, and may have been the inspiration for later fighting games with V-triggers for Street Fighter V, and so on and so forth. Even the world map is structured like Street Fighter 2, where you pretty much go into different paths of the world until Asteroid M comes crashing down, and you gotta fight Magneto. But before fighting him, you fight a side boss being Juggernaut, which again, screw him, he isn't even a playable character unless, you know, through cheats. And he legit takes off half your health with one punch. I remember the whole time I was thinking, oh man, I can't wait to play a Juggernaut. Oh, I gotta jump through hoops. I don't like hoops. And then you fight Magneto again. Again, he's not playable either. He's one of those non-playable bosses, but he does become available in the next game. Which again, I know I'm very much excited for that. But yeah, the next game, which is my personal favorite. He's one of the cheapest motherfuckers in the game. Overall, this game is pretty damn great. Not even gonna lie, the gameplay was intriguing, and while I'm getting my ass kicked, I feel like I learned when I eventually beat the boss and I eventually beat certain stories. Of course, when you get to the end, you get an ending, and everyone had their own unique ending in the beginning. By the way, the Acolytes, who are like the main villain of Fatal Attraction, do pop up, but they only pop up when you defeat Magneto. These also could have been characters to be playable characters. But no, Silver Samurai and Spyro was the only thing y'all could think of. By the way, this game is unbalanced as hell. Legit, Omega Red's attack takes off most of your health with just one hit. If you get hit by Storm's ultimate, it goes all the way across the screen, so even if you block it, you will hit. And chip damage takes off just about half your health. So even if you block, you are still Omega-ly screwed. By the way, Omega Red, if there are any main, like Omega Red main, just know I hate you and you are not invited to the cookout. Like, not even once. To be honest, I haven't played this game in years because I hadn't had a way to until Fightcade was a thing and all sorts of other ways to get it, but I wanted to get it the legal way. See, I love X-Men. I read all the comics from the 80s all the way to 2008. I wasn't born in the 80s, I just had that many comics because trade paperbacks are a thing. And there's a reading list out there. But it started getting weird when Grant Morrison started to write it, and then I was like, yeah, what the hell with that scoring storyline? I remember I legit started only reading X-Men again because, legit, during the 2018, 19, 20, all of that stuff happened. That's when it started to get good. Plus, I saw most, if not all, of the X-Men cartoons that came out. I've seen X-Men Evolution, X-Men, the 90s series, even Wolverine and the X-Men all to completion. So this was pretty much a rush of nostalgia when I got to finally play this game again. Also, Fatal Attraction, rereading it, and now being older, I love it. It's one of the greatest X-Men stories ever written. And I feel like a lot of people overlook it because of that one moment where Wolverine just got the adamantium chucked out his body, but there's so much else in there. A lot of social commentary came from the X-Men, so when I heard there was a fighting game, and it was maybe my favorite studio, Capcom, I knew I was gonna love it. And despite the game being an unbalanced and unfair mess, it's one of the funnest games I've played so far. And here's the thing. The next game we're covering in this retrospective series is my favorite game, because if it wasn't for that game, I don't think I'd be this heavily involved in fighting games or gaming in general, nor would I be this heavily involved in everything that I enjoy about superheroes. So, yeah, the next game we have, which is also one of the best games to me to date, is X-Men vs. Street Fighter. I know this one is kind of short, considering the most of my other video essays have been like 20 minutes or at least 18, but again, I didn't have so much of a connection with this one, and I didn't have a lot to go over because there wasn't a story for this one besides, the Fatal Attraction storyline, which I tried to go into detail to give you background on what to expect, but it went far away from that, even having characters that have nothing to do with it. Because Omega Red and Cyclops and Storm were nowhere to be found in Fatal Attraction. But I understand why they did that, because it would, they're fun characters to play as. And some characters like Bishop were left out, and the Acolytes, I thought would make perfect playable characters, but But yeah, this one's kind of short, and it is good to kick off. Trust me, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, and Marvel Super vs. Street Fighter will be a lot longer and will have a lot better gameplay. But I just wanted to try this one out. But we will be going through the whole series, and we'll probably not be done until the middle of next year. Because these take time and effort, and I have to collect data and all sorts of stuff and do a bunch of research. But yeah, don't forget to like this video if you liked what I had to say. Don't forget to share this so other people can see the retrospective series. Also, don't forget to check out my Twitch channel. This is where I play all sorts of games. I am streaming, and we are on our road to getting 100 followers on Twitch. It's not a very big goal, but it's something we can accomplish if we put our minds to it. And lastly, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my Patreon if you want to help support the channel. It's not very big Patreon, and for now we don't have a lot of things going on with it, but over time, yeah. And don't forget, if you don't want to do any of that, at least just subscribe to the channel. If you don't like my content, you can always unsubscribe. Don't forget to let your heart be your guiding key and fight for what you believe in, even if no one else believes in it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.